Hi guys, it's Dr. Roz. Gonna wait for some of you guys to get in the room. I am excited. We are doing our first live in such a long time. It's been forever. And I missed you guys. Yes, I missed you. Tonight we are going to talk about how to trust in a relationship. So that's one of the biggest questions that I get. Hi, Andrea. How are you? That's one of and guys, as you come in, just let me know you're here. Just say hi. Tell me hello or something. Don't be shy. We're family here. Tonight's live is exclusively for you guys, for Marriage Exposed. And I have a dog, so he will bark every time I try to do a live or get on the phone. He's like a kid. He needs attention. So I apologize in advance. But tonight we're going to talk about how to absolutely trust in a relationship. Chase, calm down. Every time, I promise you, every time. Now I know how some of you parents feel when you're like distracted by your babies. So tonight we're going to talk about how to trust in a relationship. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I have so many people who want to be in relationships or they're in situationships. However, they don't trust anyone. And they don't know how to trust, and they don't know how to go back and track when they first lost trust in relationships. So I wanted to talk about that tonight, and I have a couple of questions that people submitted to me anonymously that I'm going to read for you tonight. So I'm going to start with the first two, and then I'm going to go into the topic of why can't we trust. So I had to write it down because my memory's bad. So Dr. Roz, you seem to know a lot about relationships, and so my biggest question is, why do people cheat? Well, that is an age-old question. Even if you have been paying attention here in the group, you'll see that people talk about side chicks, side dudes. There's all this conversation about people not really being committed to relationships. So the truth of the matter is when people actually cheat, hey, LaShonda, when people actually cheat in relationships, sometimes it really boils down to that person and not necessarily the relationship. And what I mean by that is that sometimes when people feel inadequate or they don't know how to function in a relationship, they'll do things to self-sabotage. And so typically when I work with clients, that's typically what's happening. It's really not even about the other spouse. It's a symptom of the relationship, but it's not the biggest problem in the relationship. So I often try to get my clients to really do an assessment of what's going wrong. What is going wrong in your relationship? And to really be honest, because sometimes, people just don't really want to be honest about their relationships. But if you're not honest about the core of your relationship, you'll never get to having a healthy relationship. So you have to be honest in terms of discussing and describing what's taking place in your relationship. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So typically why people cheat is because it's a defense mechanism, really. They've either felt like they can't trust someone has caused them anxiety, someone has touched on their insecurity. And so for that reason alone, thank you for the thumbs up. For that reason alone, and if you like this, please share it with others. For that or tag your members in here to join the talk. But for that reason alone, when people's insecurities are tapped, then they have to do something to kind of, hey, how are you? They have to do something to try to combat that feeling of anxiety. And so typically the easiest thing to do is when your insecurity has been tapped is to go do something that makes you feel good. Well, sex feels good. It's amazing. Listen, everybody should have it, with the one you love. But it's a beautiful process. And it gets a bad rep because, because of the cheating factor or what you can be considered if you enjoy sex, basically. So typically why people are cheating, to answer the very first question, is because there's been an insecurity gut punch, and they found something that makes them feel good. And so when that insecurity or that anxiety arises, that person becomes the answer to the insecurity. And so again, typically it's not really even about the other person in a relationship, even though it feels like the ultimate betrayal. It's not about the other person in a relationship half the time. It really is about that person feeling some type of way, and this is how they are expressing their pain. So that was the first anonymous question that I received. I'm going to read the second one. I had to write them down, guys, because I'm a little slow. Sorry. Dr. Roz, I'm really enjoying Marriage Exposed. The group is crazy. I agree with that sometimes. Some of y'all trip me out sometimes. I'm like, who thinks of some of these memes? The group is crazy. However, I do learn from some of the married people. So my question is, what makes me, or what makes a person worth marrying? Well, that's a great question. Because I think you have to define what marriage is for you, and marriage is different for everyone. So for me, I always knew I was going to be somebody's wife. There was never no question about it, because that's what I saw growing up. My parents were married for 47 years until my dad's death. My sisters got married right out of high school. Like, marriage was like the family legacy, basically. So I never thought that I wasn't going to get married. But then when I was dating and wasn't finding somebody that would be suitable for marriage, I did get nervous. I'll be honest about that. But I think you have to define what marriage is for you, and then you have to put yourself in the place where somebody else has that same mindset. So if an individual believes in living together and having kids and marriage is a piece of paper, that's somebody you don't need to have a relationship with, because they're not on the same wavelength as you. They don't believe in the constitution of marriage. And so that's a relationship that's going to frustrate you if you want to be married. So you want to make sure that you are connecting with someone who sees that you are worth marriage. So what makes an individual worth marriage? Here's it in a nutshell. After this, I'm going into my 12th year of marriage in September. And here's really the honest to goodness truth about marriage. It will make you grow up. It will make you realize how selfish you are. And it will make you reevaluate life. And I say that in all honesty. I love my husband to pieces. But sometimes I'm like, what in the world? And I know he's like that with me sometimes too. And we don't have kids. So there's no distraction. There's no interference. We really got to deal with each other. Well, we have a dog. He's like our child. But we really have to deal with each other. And so we really have to have great communication skills. So a great marriage, or what marriage looks like for people, is that it's really a coming together of two different people with different experiences, but deciding to try to live a life together. So, guys, I'm very honest with you guys about my relationship, because I don't want you guys thinking I'm all amazing and we don't have issues. Me and my husband beef. We have issues. We argue just like everybody else. And I think it was around year 5. We were just like, okay, we're going to separate. What are we doing? We had to go to therapy. We went to therapy. And the biggest thing that my therapist said to us that made us really realize that we weren't functioning in the marriage is because he was like, you have 3 lives. You have your life, your spouse's life, and the life you want to live together. Which one matters most? And so that was the beginning of us really realizing that we have to create a life with each other rather than trying to still live our separate lives. Because when you do get married, you become one. You become one. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have your own life. You can't, well, not your own life, but your own hobbies and your own goals and your own dreams. You just have to have somebody that's going to support that. So many of you guys know that I'm an AKA. I'm in a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I'm very, very extremely active with my sorority. But my husband knew that when he met me, and he was okay with that. Now, if I try to add on 5 other things to be as active in, he's going to give me the side eye. But he knows that I really like being with my sorors. I really like doing the community service. I love our conferences. He knows that it's a big part of who I am. So he supports me in that. But if I decided that I wanted to go and, I don't know, try to learn how to be a hip hop dancer and I want to travel the world with Beyonce. He's probably gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Like, really? This is what you're doing at 40? And I'll probably look at myself crazy too. He probably supported for about 6 months, but then he'd probably be like, really, Roz? Okay, let's get another drink here. So it really is this idea of melding with someone who absolutely believes in what you want to do, who supports what you want to do, but you also make them the priority. My friends will laugh at me because we can be out and I might get a text from my husband and the text is generally from him, hey, are you okay? Well, that's clue to me that I need to go home because if he's checking to see if I'm okay, then that means I've probably been out a little bit too long and I ain't checked in and said what's up. So, I'm like, all right, y'all, I got to go be a wife. And I'm cool with that. I don't have any issues with that. Nothing is more important than my home life. So, and my friends who I hang out with, they recognize that, they respect that, and they love my husband. So they know, they know that he doesn't trip about a lot of stuff. But, I still have to be cognizant that I am somebody's wife. So that, in a nutshell, when you think about what makes someone marriage material, is can you compromise? Because that's the biggest thing. Like the biggest compromise to date that my husband and I have made is that I still live here in the DC area. I'm from Georgia, and I had no intentions of staying here in the DMV at all. When I graduated, I was going back home to Georgia. I had a whole different life plan. And then I met this joker and we got married. So, so I'm here. So the biggest compromise is for the holidays, I'm with my family because his family is here. So, there are some compromises that you have to make and that, you just have to bite the bullet of this is what my life is going to be like because this is what I love. So that is for the second question, and we have about 2 more questions. So I'll do those 2 questions at the end. And guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, in the questions. So tonight's topic is really about how do you trust in a relationship. And so I get this question a lot, or this is the biggest complaint that I get with most couples because they just don't know how to function. They don't trust people. They've been hurt. They've been hurt so much. And so I always take people back to the core. When was the first time that you were hurt? And most people really can't pinpoint it. Most people can't pinpoint their trauma. And the reason why I say that is because we don't know how we attach to people. Well, what does that mean, Dr. Roz? What does attach mean? This is how you emotionally bond to other people. And so if you don't know your attachment style, and I'll explain it to you. If you don't know your attachment style, then you're liable to be in all kind of relationships that will not work for you. And so what is an attachment style? An attachment style is basically how you learn how to have relationships. And who are the people that we learn that from? Our parents. And so if you are not in a what we call healthy relationship, that's a secure attachment. So that means your parents were there for you. Your parents, they weren't neglectful. You knew your parents cared about you. They met your needs. They provided for you. They were great parents. They allowed you to explore life. That's what we call a healthy attachment. And those people, or secure attachment, those people, you see those people functioning in healthy relationships. Well, here are some of the insecure attachments. When you see someone who's like smothering someone in a relationship. And it's like, oh my God, like you don't know if this person is going to commit suicide, if the person never leave them because they're so, smothering that person. And the one thing that they want that person to do, which is not leave them, they don't realize that their actions are pushing them away. Well, in that kind of attachment, typically that person that behaves that way has probably been neglected by the parental unit or their caretaker. And so they don't know what to do. They struggle. They struggle with the idea of, do I do so much that I keep this person with me, or do I pull back? They don't know what to do. So it's relationships are very confusing for them. So they feel like they give their all in their relationships. They give everything in their relationships only to be left, only to be abandoned. And so they don't realize that their behavior, what are you doing? Where are you going? You can't go anywhere without me. I need to be with you at all times. Who are you talking to? Who is that? Who's this friend? Who's that friend? Those type of drives people away. Like nobody can be under that kind of surveillance, basically, in a marriage. It will drive you crazy. It will make you go out and not want to come home from work. You know, I hear so many men say, I don't come home until 10:30 at night, but I get off at 6. You know, and it's like, I mean, traffic is bad, but traffic ain't that bad. You know, but it's because they need a break from the constant harassment, basically. So those individuals, they will always have trust issues because they did not get what they adequately needed from their parents. And so they don't know how to trust. They don't trust that anybody will be there for them. They don't trust that anybody will take care of them. They don't trust that anybody will even love them. And so those individuals always will struggle in relationships. Then you have those individuals who are, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman, I'm good on my own. These are people who just don't know what to do in a relationship. And so instead of allowing themselves to get hurt, like they like the idea of a relationship and when it's good, it's good. But instead of allowing themselves to get hurt, they'll roll. And these are the people that ghost you, especially when it was like going great. You're like, what the heck happened? Like we was just kicking it for 2 weeks. Everything was going well. Everything was going great. For these people, it gets too real. It gets too real. And so before they emotionally invest, they do something to say, you know what, nah, I don't like this girl because she don't know how to wash dishes. And like they have a simple reason for like leaving a person. But really what it is that self-protection. They're like protecting themselves from being hurt. And so these individuals are always going to have a hard time trusting as well. Then you have the individuals who have been abused. And so they don't even know what trust looks like. So abuse looks like trust. If he's hitting me, if she's hitting me, they love me, right? And so it's a very confusing state of being in a relationship because in their default world, that's all they know. And that's everybody. Everybody relies back to their default behavior. So whatever your parents taught you, that's how you act in your adult relationships. So if your parents taught you how to be loving, how to be forgiving, how to do conflict resolution, how to verbalize your feelings, then that's what shows up in your adult relationships. But if your parents taught you, we're going to scream at each other all day long, we're going to yell at each other all day long, we're going to knock each other out all day long, then that's what you know. And that's real to you. That's all that you know. And so it's not a blame, right? Because your parents had to learn it from somewhere. So it's not a blame, but it's just getting you aware. Having an awareness about how you were functioning in your relationship. So you guys know I teach a class on your relationship personality because I feel like so many people get caught up in bad relationships because they don't know how to even function in one. And if you don't know your attachment style, which is the starting point, right? That's where you start learning your attachment style. If you don't know that, then you're lost. You're lost. And so that's why all your relationships look the same. They just have a different name because you're functioning in that same guise of a person because it's comfortable for you. It's your default. So you don't know anything different. Or when you meet someone new or you meet someone who shows you something different, you're sitting around waiting for the shoe to drop because you don't think you deserve it. And so a lot of why you can't trust in your relationships because your core self is telling you, I am not worth it. It sucks. It's a very rough place to be. But if you ever want to get to your health, you want to get to the pinnacle of having a healthy relationship, you have to do that self-core evaluation. And what I mean by that, you got to be honest with yourself. Why do you feel like it's so unconscious to some of you guys that you don't feel like you're worthy of it, that you don't, you do things that just screws everything up. And you're like, well, what happened? You know, because you're so unconscious of the idea that you are not worthy of a relationship. And so, in saying that, you really have to get to the core of who you are, get to the core of why you're that way. And that's when you have to do the attachment evaluation. So you really have to look at your relationship with your parents. Because when Junebug hurt your feelings, or Tyrone, or Shaniqua, I'm just making up names, guys. But when they hurt your feelings, that probably wasn't the first time you experienced trauma. Your trauma probably came when you were a child. And so you just started functioning in that trauma. And that's all you kind of know. So it just seems like this is how everything is always going to be. And that may not necessarily be the case. So the first thing that you have to do is that you got to be honest with yourself. So that's number one. Be honest with yourself about who you are, right? How do I function in relationships? What do I do? Do I cause drama in relationships? Am I a drama magnet? You got to ask yourself that, because if you're a drama magnet, everybody's going to run away from you. So yeah, you're always going to be hurt in a relationship. What's a drama magnet? Somebody who can't seem to stay away from drama. Somebody who can't make a better decision not to be involved in drama. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. And I know some people struggle and like, oh, she's a drama queen. The drama follows her everywhere she goes. But if they stopped and really thought about some of the things that they were doing and why it was affecting them like that, it would change their behavior. So really assessing their thoughts would change their behavior. So, you know, really, or drama king, because we know there are some guys who are a bit much as well. Also, you know, the first thing you want to do, assess yourself. The second thing you want to do is assess your parental assessment. Really have that hard conversation. If you don't feel like, if it's so volatile that you can't do it, you know, just you and your parents, then get a mediator in the room. Go see a therapist. Listen, guys, you know, I tell you all the time, see a therapist, see a psychologist, see somebody that can help you work through some of this hard stuff. And it's not going to happen overnight. And one conversation is not going to do it. So there's nothing wrong with seeing someone like me. Nothing at all wrong with that. Because we are going to walk you through the process and get you to your healing. But you got to be open to it. And so you want to do that parental self-assessment and really look at your relationship with your parents. And then thirdly, you have to commit to change. Well, what does that mean? Change is 10% of getting to a better self. 90% is becoming aware. So if you do the first two things, right? If you do that self-assessment, and then if you do your attachment assessment, that's you becoming aware of who you are in relationships. That's you becoming aware of what it is that you need to change. That's you becoming aware of how you function. That's you becoming aware of how others see you in relationships. So if you do those two things, then the last part is easy. It's just 10%. It's just a 10%. Change is just 10%. I tell people all the time, I know change seems like it's hard, but it really is just 10% of you getting it done once you become aware of what it is that you need to get done. So how do you change? You become honest. You really become honest and you monitor your behaviors. What do you do in relationships? Think about your last relationship. If you have a good, you know, relationship with the next, ask them, you know, in a way like, I'm not trying to get with you. I'm just doing some self-assessment. I want to know, where did we go wrong? Please be honest. Don't sugarcoat, because guys, men have a tendency to sugarcoat for women. But tell them to be brutally honest with you, because that's the only way you're going to know. You got to be open to them being brutally honest to you. And it may hurt. It may hurt like heck. But, you know, you need to hear that. Because if that's a reoccurring theme, if you keep hearing that from people, you already know it. We already know how we behave. We already know how we are. Like, we've been with ourselves all this time. We know how we function. We know what we do. We know we're a mess. Like, all of us know our mess. So it won't be too much of a surprise from what they tell you, because you already know this about you. So that's how you get into the process of changing. You figure out what it is, those key things that are stopping you from getting what you want. You know, just like self-disclosure here, I don't know, at one point I was like going to go into the military, right? I was like, I was going to be a psychologist in the Navy or the Air Force. Like, that was a thought that I had. Not sure why. I think I was dating a guy that was like in the military, so I just thought it would be cool. You know, I don't know. And my dad was in the Navy, so I knew the military life. But I was like, what's the barrier? Well, y'all see me. I'm a big girl. Now, and I know what I need to do to lose weight. Am I going to lose weight? Do I really want it? And that's when I realized I didn't really want it. So I knew what I needed to do to change, but did I do the 10% change? No. So that's just a barrier. Some of the barriers that kind of get in our way. So we know what it is we need to do. We just don't do it. And so, you really have to be honest with yourself about why you aren't doing it. Why don't you want to do it? It's an ugly conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. So guys, that is, because I didn't want to take up too much of your time, that is the portion that I wanted to talk to you about. Are there any questions? I don't know if I even remember how to work this. I think I can bring some of you on camera. So let me know if you want to be brought on camera, if you want to discuss. Let's see how that works. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. How do I invite you? Let's see. Okay, I need to figure out how that works. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. But are there any questions that you guys may have for me? If they are, just tap them in the, just put them in the comments. I think they'll come up. Thank you guys for kicking it with me tonight. I am excited to start back doing our lives. I have not done them in, a while, probably about 6-7 months, just because life got busy. So I'm excited about giving you a live at least once a week. And typically it's probably going to be a Tuesday night. That's when I have less stuff going on. Oh, there are 2 more questions, 2 more anonymous questions. Sorry about that. Dr. Roz. I thought this was a cute question. Bless her heart. Dr. Roz, I say you're a full-figured woman. Like, how did you find a man? And that's how she wrote it. Like, how did you find a man? So here's the truth. I tell people all the time that your size has nothing to do with somebody wanting you. It's really about how you show up in the room, how you present yourself. I've been chubby all my life. I've been a thick girl, chubby, fluffy, whatever you want to call it. But there's never been a barrier for me having relationships. And the reason why is because I fundamentally understand who I am. So I think if you know who you are, people are attracted to that. It seems like people are attracted to, exterior looks and, having the breast, having the body. People like to look at that. It's a stimulation, but that doesn't maintain attraction. And so really what maintains someone's attraction in you is how you show up for you, how you show up in the room. How do you see yourself? And so if you see yourself as an amazing person, as a loving person, as a caring person, as a person that desires to be in a relationship, then guess what? Other people will see you that way too. If you see yourself as someone that doesn't like themselves, then you can't expect anybody else to like you. So it really is, and I get this question a lot. So she, bless her heart, she was like, I hope I don't offend you. Totally not offended. It's a real question because we know that full-figure women are often seen as easy, easy catches. They'll do whatever because they lonely and depressed. And that's not true. Like, I know so many full-figure women who are rocking it, and that's not their life at all. And so don't be that girl. If you want somebody to respect you long run, don't be that girl. But the sexiest thing that you can have about you is your confidence. So I would say get your confidence level up and you can rock the world. You'll be good with the world. You're good. And the last question. Dr. Ross, my husband sucks in the bedroom. How do I tell him without hurting his feelings? Child, let me tell you, women, I blame us because we will ooh and ah like we are having the best orgasm and we know we haven't. And so that's why you keep getting the basic sex. So you got to be honest, but you have to do it in such a way that you do not destroy his ego. And so you should do it in such a way like this. Honey, let's try this position. Honey, I like this. Baby, there's my dog. He doesn't want me talking about sex. Honey, I desire for you to, we're grown. Stroke a little longer or stroke a little slower or faster, whatever your tempo. But you have to tell them. You can't just be like, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, I'm bored. Like, so So you're doing a disservice to yourself and your sex life. Do not lie to your husband. Do not lie to your wife. If they are not doing what it is that you want them to do, it's an opportunity for you to learn. It's an opportunity for you guys to teach each other how to please each other sexually. So if your husband really isn't pleasing you in bed, then have a conversation, but be sexy in the conversation. So, be in the mood, straddle him, whisper in his ear, baby, this is what I like. And show him what you like. Come on, use your seduction, use your sexual prowess. Because we have it. God gave us that sexual fulfillment, that sexuality for a reason. And so use all of your sexuality. Because, if you're lying to your husband and making him think he's doing a great job, it's going to be a horrible shock 10 years down the road when you're like, you never gave me an orgasm. So don't do that to your husband. Don't do that. Be honest and say, babe, I like it this way. Or baby, hit it to the side. Or baby, let's do it this way. Or I like it like this. Or, whatever your desire is, say it. We're in such a culture that we're so afraid to say our truth. And our truth is leaving us depleted and not satisfied. Say what you want so you can have the best sex of your life. Get it and get it in often, because I feel like when you are honest in that arena, because that's the most intimate you can be, right? That's the most intimate anybody can be, is having a man inside of you. It don't get any more intimate than that. If he's allowed to go inside of you, you are allowed to tell him what you like. So, I don't know. That's just my my little 10 cents. I'll wait and see if you guys have any questions to see if they're going to come up in the comments. But if there are no questions, then that is all tonight. It's been great talking to you guys, and I'm excited to actually start back doing the lives. It's been a minute, and I missed you guys. I just had a lot going on. Lot going on. Oh. And this is my new t-shirt line. It's called, can you guys see it? It's called The Chosen Line, and it says Melanated Bride. And I also have a shirt. This is for people who are married or engaged. And I also have a shirt called Melanated Wife. And it's the Dr. Ross collection. And you can get it in any color. Of course, I'm an AK, so I had it in pink and green. But it really is changing the narrative that Black women are not desired or chosen for marriage. So I will be putting out the information about how you can purchase one soon, because when I launch, it's going to be a great movement, and I'm very excited about it. Well, all right, guys, if there are no questions, thank you for rocking with me tonight, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.